When JD Vance, a military veteran with a hardscrabble working-class background and a case of imposter syndrome, entered Yale Law School, he may not have seemed like someone destined to land a heartbeat from the U.S. presidency. Many of those who know him credit his remarkable success story to the influence of his wife, Usha Vance, whom he met on the Ivy League campus. By any measure, JD Vance, 40, has had a meteoric rise. In a matter of 3 years, he has gone from a long-shot run for the Senate to becoming the third youngest vice president in American history. At his side every step of the way has been his spirit guide, as he calls her, wife, Usha. At Yale Law School, the pair were friends at first. Though they shared a reading group and social circle, their backgrounds could not have been more different. Usha Vance, the 39-year-old daughter of Indian immigrants, grew up in the San Diego suburbs before attending Yale for both her undergraduate and graduate degrees. Her husband was raised in Middleton, Ohio, born to a family with roots in the impoverished Appalachians of eastern Kentucky. Their contrasting upbringings is what attracted them to each other. Charles Tyler, a Yale classmate and friend of the couple, told the BBC, "They were always this match of very dissimilar people," he said. In his best-selling 2016 memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family and culture in crisis, JD Vance recounted how his wife helped him adjust to life at the top law college. "I have never felt out of place in my entire life," he wrote. "But I did at Yale." The vice president-elect described one instance in the book where his wife taught him which cutlery to use for which part of a formal meal, to pick the silverware from the outside in. Usha was teaching JD about the subtler aspects about being at an elite institution, Tyler recalls. Usha was his guide throughout the process. Hillbilly Elegy explores Vance's first-hand experience of the poverty and addiction of a rural underclass, while offering a glimpse into the Vance's relationship. When J.D. Vance was unveiled as Trump's running mate in July, he had limited name recognition. He was a junior senator from Ohio, elected to public office for the first time just 2 years earlier, after spells as a Marine, lawyer, and venture capitalist. What is more, he was known for making anti-Trump statements, once privately comparing him to Hitler. His wife, too, appears to have been on a political journey, having once been appalled by the role Trump played in the 6th of January 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol, according to a friend who spoke to the Washington Post. She was a registered member of the rival Democratic Party until about a decade ago, and she counts among her legal roles a job as a corporate litigator at prestigious firm Munger, Tolley's & Olson in San Francisco, a firm that describes itself as radically progressive. During her legal career, Usha Vance also worked for conservative Judges Chief Justice John Roberts at the Supreme Court and for Appeals Court Judge Brett Kavanaugh, before he was appointed by Trump to the highest court in the land. When he goes out and makes a great speech, she advises him and gives him her opinion, and it's taken seriously. According to Jay Chebria, a family friend and a political consultant who spoke to USA Today, since her husband became Trump's running mate, the mother of three has adopted a behind-the-scenes role. Friends say she shuns the limelight in part because of a desire to shield their young children, aged 7, 4, and 3. During the campaign cycle, Usha gave public remarks a handful of times, including when she sat for a Fox News interview and to introduce her husband at the party conference. That speech offered the public perhaps the clearest insight to their marriage. To millions watching across the U.S., she described the man she met at law school as a working-class guy who overcame childhood trauma I could barely fathom. According to Vance's book, she played a huge role in helping him process that trauma, which caused him to sometimes explode in anger. "It's not just that I've learned to control myself, but that Usha has learned how to manage me," he wrote. In that Republican National Convention address by Usha Vance, Tyler said, "She was most like the friend he still speaks to weekly. It feels extremely congruent with the person she is in life," Tyler said. From her speech, Americans discovered that J.D. Vance learned how to cook Indian dishes that accommodate his wife's vegetarian diet, among other things. And when the time came to defend her husband, she was ready to do that, too. Last July, Previous comments by JD Vance, in which he called some Democratic politicians childless cat ladies, resurfaced on social media, and it was his wife whose damage control seemed to do most to quell the ensuing uproar. She described his remarks as a quip, reframing them as a reflection on the challenges facing working families in America, and expressing a wish that critics would look at the larger context of what her husband had said. She acknowledged in the Fox interview that she does not agree with her husband on all political issues, though she said she has never doubted his intention. Usher has never been an overly political person, J.J. Snidow, a former Yale Law School classmate of the pair, told the BBC. What America has come to see of her being a very impressive, reserved person is real. That is who she is. But things have not been entirely smooth for the couple since Vance joined the presidential ticket. In August, he hit out at those aiming racist barbs at his wife, telling them, "She's out of your league." Charles Tyler says Usha Vance does not fit tidily into any political box, a description that appears to acknowledge her past affiliations which seem opposed to Trump. The reason so many people have difficulty characterizing her politics is not because she keeps her cards close to the vest, he says. It's because she doesn't conform to the kind of ideological tribes that most of us have identified with. That will probably serve her well as U.S. Second Lady, a role that has historically been removed from the cut and thrust of Washington's partisan politics. But with J.D. Vance's star firmly in the ascent, few who know the couple doubt that Usha Vance will continue to serve as his spirit guide in the White House and beyond.